Hi, my name's Doug Ricketts. I'm the Marine Superintendent for the Research Vessel Blue Heron, and welcome to our virtual tour. So the boat is owned by the University of Minnesota Duluth, and we use it to help not only University of Minnesota researchers, but researchers from around the country explore the Great Lakes. So we purchased this boat in 1997. It used to be a fishing boat on the Grand Banks. A few years ago, we actually passed the point in time when it's been a research vessel longer than it was a fishing boat. So we assist all types of scientists on board the vessel: chemists, biologists, geologists, physicists, and they're looking at not only the sediment on the bottom of the lake, but the creatures and the water in the lake and the atmosphere above the lake. And we like to think that we are able to assist all of them in completing their research projects. So here we are on the back deck, and mostly what we can see on the back deck is equipment that we use to help deploy scientific instrumentation into the water column. But let's go into the boat and show you some more of the vessel. So now we're in our wet laboratory, and as you'll probably notice as we wander through the boat, that seems to be a bit disorganized. That's because it's right prior to our season. So we're doing a lot of work to get the vessel ready to assist the scientists on their various expeditions that they have this year. So this is our smaller laboratory space right now. You can imagine scientists putting microscopes or other pieces of equipment on these tables, but the primary thing in the wet laboratory is our marine technicians stations. Right now you can see 4 computer screens that are all blank, but when we're actually underway, all of them will be displaying various suites of data. Now, data that shows what's happening in the water column from the pieces of equipment that we've deployed, data from pieces of equipment that we've attached to the bottom of the vessel that are sending out, in most cases, sound in order to image the water column and the bottom. And then also data being displayed from our MET station that's on top of the vessel, showing what atmospheric conditions are like. Now we're going to walk into the heart of the vessel. And here we have the galley. So we usually can seat 6 folks for meals in the galley, and that ends up being about half of the accompaniment on a multi-day cruise. So we can have 11 folks on board the vessel. We can have them on board the vessel for up to 3 weeks without coming to shore. So this is where our steward works in the kitchen. She not only makes sure that the scientists and the crew has 3 meals, but she also is a captain on board the vessel. So once she's done fixing food for everyone, she will go up and sit in the pilot house and mind the vessel, pilot the vessel for a couple hours a day. Let's go back in here. Here's some of the berthing. So 4 of the berths that folks will occupy while they're out on longer cruises on board the vessel. So 4 of the 11 berths that are on board the vessel. Pretty standard. These are the original berths for then when this was a fishing vessel. Our current crew and scientists are maybe a little less smelly than fishermen, so maybe a little cleaner than it was 20 years ago, 25 years ago, but it's basically serving the same purpose as it did 25 years ago when the vessel was a fishing boat. So let's go down into the bosun's locker now. So here we are in the bosun's locker. So this is a storage space. We not only store our food in here, but also spare parts, since we are away from port for up to 3 weeks. So we need to make sure that we have all the parts that are necessary for the ship to continue to operate. Let's walk into the engine room. You just came out of the bosun's locker and we were walking on top of the potable water tank, and now we're in the engine room and I'm standing on top of one of our fuel tanks. So again, we have enough drinking water and enough fuel so the ship can operate for up to 3 weeks away from port. In the engine room, you'll see that we have all the equipment necessary to keep the ship running, to have water and heat and electricity. We end up having multiple items of most things, like we have 2 generators, we have multiple hydraulic pumps to run the hydraulic equipment we find on board the vessel, but we only have 1 engine. We have our main Caterpillar engine here that drives our single prop. Luckily, our engineer is fantastic, and we don't really have to worry about any engine failures. Also in the engine room below me is several wells where instrumentation that is attached to the outside of the vessel comes into the vessel. So we not only have a speed log for the ship itself, but we also have intake, seawater intake, where we can bring water on board for use in the wet labs for researchers to use, and also things like a multi-beam sonar and acoustic Doppler current profiler that are attached to the bottom of the vessel. So let's go up into the pilot house. Here we are in the pilot house. Charting programs, radar, radios for contacting shore, satellite communications for contacting shore if we need it. A very effective bridge space allows us to move around safely and get the researchers to where they need to be. Thank you for joining us for our tour of the Research Vessel Blue Heron. Now, every summer, 3 or 4 times, we will be docked in the Duluth Harbor and open for tours. So keep an eye out for that. It would be great to have you come down and have a physical tour of the Research Vessel Blue Heron. We always have researchers on board who can talk to you, and also the crew to talk to you about how the vessel operates and what we do while we're out on the lake. Thanks for watching.